and to our support folks, including Mr. Everson, who's working the cameras tonight, and to everyone else who supports us. It would have been great not to have tonight's shortened meeting, but I also want to thank the committee because I know we always try to do a thoughtful job on topics, whether it's school calendar or budget or anything. And for anybody who didn't follow last week's meeting, we just didn't feel like we had all the information we needed to make the best decisions on these two topics. So thank you to everybody for coming out again tonight. I also want to just give the superintendent a quick shout out. If you looked at the roads this afternoon and this evening, you'd think there was nothing this morning, but when she and I were texting at 9 p.m. last night, she said it's going to be an early morning call, so I know she's been up all day. And thank Debbie and thank Tony and Department of Public Works. I think the right call was made. Did everything go all right today?
Everything went great.
Yeah.
I was up at 4:30, my usual snow day scenario, but I do want to call out Tony Masali because I talked to Tony yesterday when we know this is going to happen, and he is just really great, proactive. So he drives in. He does not live in town. And he said, oh, perfect timing, I just came to pick up the truck. So he'll swap out his personal vehicle for the truck with the plow, so that as he comes in at 4 in the morning, at 4:30, he can do any tidying up he sees. And he really is on the road between 4:30 and 5 o'clock when we're trying to make the decision and can tell it. So by the time I talked to Tony, about 4:40, 4:45, he had already talked to the DPW, who felt we'd be ready to go on time. Seemed like other people in the area were feeling the same. And then 20 minutes later, he called back and said he had been around to most things and thought we were good to go, and indeed we were. So really, it's really good to have that kind of people to count on, because I really don't want to be driving around in my car looking at the conditions around town around 4:30 because, just want to be in my kitchen. So thank you, Tony. Luckily, the storm ended a little bit earlier than we thought and gave us a little bit more time in the morning, early morning hours, so thanks.
Well, and thank you, Debbie. And it's probably interesting to the committee and the public to hear the process and how it works, but it's probably easier, well, I know it's easier, when you can make the call the night before.
Yes.
This was one of those tight ones.
I don't like to have school days off, but if we do, the no-brainers are at least a little, the early morning ones are never easy because it usually is about conditions, not accumulation.
Yeah.
So that can be, that's much more of a judgment call, so.
Yep.
Can't wait for winter to be over.
Well, good call today. I also just, while I'm rambling, just wanted to congratulate Frank Mortimer. I know he's not here. But, the Foxborough Reporter, I know, received a number of awards recently, and Frank did for his story about our beloved Sam Burns. So public shout out to the Reporter and to Frank for their awards. It was impressive to read. Okay, any visitors who want to be recognized? Okay, seeing none, approval of minutes. These are the February 23rd regular meeting minutes.
Well, I have no addition or correction, so I would like to motion that we accept these as presented.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 4-0. Thank you. Okay, school calendar for this year, making up snow days, continued discussion. Ms. Spinelli.
Yes, so I guess I want to thank Janet. She keeps putting together our updated calendars with the snowflake code as is, which where our snow days were, and this has continued your discussion from last week. And I guess I will say I think it's my job to hear what the school committee decides and to make sure that we can make it happen, whatever you think is best. The committee last week did ask us to collect information about how many conflicts could possibly occur on those days, and I want to thank all of our principals because they did that. We only had a couple of days to do that, as you know, and the principals all executed within their buildings with the same questions that I had given them in just a few days so that I could get the data to the committee on Friday before I left for the week. So whether it's helpful or not, just so people know, though, if other people are watching, we did not survey the entire staff. And I just want to be clear, it's not that other people's roles aren't important, it's that we had a couple days to do it. You have to make the sample size manageable, And we felt it was best just to see how many conflicts teachers had, because we felt that in other cases, we could probably be able to manage a little bit. So it has nothing to do with our value for other people's jobs. It's just that you have to you're going to get this turned over with data back in 2.5 days, and we had to really make sure that we just shrunk our sample size. So I just want to be clear on that. So we had 223 teachers respond. And I also, I want to thank Frank for how he reported this last week and for taking the time, as he always does, to reach out and clarify, because it isn't that, there is some, people aren't always familiar with how a teacher's contract or a teacher's calendar works. It isn't that teachers don't stay if the year goes on to the snow days or afterwards. Of course they do, but people plan their personal lives, as we all do, in good faith, given what we expect and given what was approved for their calendar. So that's what, I guess, the best way I could describe it, which is how Frank reported it accurately, which is people in good faith may have made personal plans, because it's rare that we ever go beyond the 5 snow days. That's always sufficed. So the expectation that we go beyond 5 really isn't there.
Isn't there.
in my memory. So that's really all. It isn't that people wouldn't be at work. It's that in good faith they've made plans under a different set of expectations. So about 30 teachers have conflicts on Good Friday. About 19 have conflicts on June 25th, which is the Thursday, currently our last day of school. And about 48 would have conflicts on that Friday, June 26th. So if we have one more snow day, we go into that Friday, June 26th, of where all those conflicts are.
Debbie, just read those again. 30 conflicts with Good Friday.
Yes.
19 June 25th.
Yes,
And 48
that's correct.
for June 26th.
Yes,
And I know I did receive this from Janet. I just want to read it again for the record.
yes. So this is,
30 on
I think
Good
this was from me.
Friday.
This was from me late Friday.
From you,
If you want to go back and look for it specifically. But then your interest
Friday,
was in
19.
also, it's a different data point, but what's the best instructional day, which is different from who has conflicts. And so our teaching
Sure.
staff felt that 88% felt that the best, which option for making up that 6th snow day, if the committee decides that you have interest in that, do you think presents the best instructional day for students? And 88% said Friday, April 3rd, Good Friday, and 12% felt that Thursday, June 25th, currently our last day. It's a different sort of question. People are going to have conflicts. I think we discussed this last week. People are going to have conflicts regardless. So I don't know if that helps, but that's the data that you
No, that's,
requested.
I think that's very helpful. And again, it would have been nice to be able to get to end a job on this last week and giving you a night in tonight after your early morning.
okay.
But I do think that, to me, when I saw your note with this data, I thought it was very helpful. So thank you.
May I mention the second
Please.
survey that the committee didn't solicit, but I think this just speaks to the great students we have here. So one of our students, Ian, who's in Mr. Griffin's class at the high school, he was very interested in this discussion. So on his own, we love Students with Initiative. Thank you, Ian. He did a little survey of some of the students in his program as to what the students like. So I'll just summarize for you, and you have Ian's survey in front of you. I made copies. That most of the students he surveyed are willing to go to school on Good Friday. They are also more than willing to extend the year into the end of June. They absolutely do not want Saturday, and they don't feel very strongly, or they're really not too much in favor of going to school during the April vacation week. So thank you, Ian, for being a good student citizen and collecting some data on your own, showing some initiative.
So we can definitely scratch out those the middle two.
Yeah, and that's a good, Ian, thank you, because that's a good way for us to begin our discussion, I think. You know, we do have the option to consider weekends or April vacation, and I think the committee has taken those off the table. So I think, based on the feedback, and again, Debbie, thank you for the very good input and the quick response from your admin team and the teachers. I think the choices are extend to Friday, June 26th, or have school on Good Friday. And just to remind what you just said, 48 have conflicts on June 26th, 30 have conflicts on Good Friday, and 88% of the staff felt the best instructional day would be to go to school on Good Friday.
Yes.
So I'll open it to the committee for discussion or thoughts. 1 minute, sir. I know you're a quasi-committee member. You're not, hang on 1 second, Joe. Anyone, any thoughts? Steve?
I think the numbers and the data speak for themselves. Of course, I think all of us on the board are academically focused, so that's strong that we're going to have the most effective school day on likely Good Friday. I won't lie, I personally, had some qualms about Good Friday for just personal reasons, it being a holiday for some of us. But I actually talked to some friends of mine, even at my church services this weekend, and I like the Good Friday idea.
Yeah.
I'm reluctant to do it, but I think it's best for the schools. And since so many other businesses are actually open on Good Friday, I think that, there will be families that will celebrate Good Friday with our decision or without our decision.
Right.
But like I said, I would reluctantly but recommend myself that we choose Good Friday.
Yep, good. I appreciate.
My opinion.
No, and I
only.
appreciate you breaking the silence and offering your opinion. I appreciate that. Tina?
I appreciate Steve going first, but I echo his reluctance and sort of resignation to the fact that we have an unusual set of circumstances this year. I would not like to see this become a routine school day.
Can't imagine that it would
Agreed.
be.
Right, but I think it needs to be said.
Oh, yes.
But, in this set of circumstances, I think putting some valuable instructional time back in our school calendar would be a good thing. I actually had an email from a parent who was watching last week's meeting, and it was waiting for me when I got home from the meeting, that said just that it seemed like Good Friday would be a more productive day for our students. And, it's reluctantly, again, I guess I would agree
It's a
that this
special
year.
day, for a
Yeah.
lot
Oh,
of
it
people.
is.
It really is. So.
It is. And certainly if people chose to keep their children home, that would be an excused absence like it is when we go to school on other faiths, religious holidays.
Absolutely
Yeah.
the same, yes, good point.
Thank you, Tina.
Well, I am ready to vote, and I, of course, will err on the side of best instruction,
Best instruction.
without
As
hesitation.
a former educator, why am I not surprised?
Well, I just wanted to state it clearly so there'd be no question.
Bruce, do we
Thank
need a
you, Betty.
motion?
We do need a motion. I'll just entertain Joe's comment now if he'd like to. Joe, I wanted the committee to be able to speak first, but did you want to add something?
So two things. One,
Joe, why don't you come up to the microphone if you don't mind? Thank you.
so Good Friday. I know the day before that is a day 7 at the high school and day 1 at the middle and elementary school. And then what day of the cycle would we still keep going on it? Like, say if the high school had day 1 on Good Friday, then the other schools had day 2?
Maybe not. We're going to discuss this Wednesday, depending on what the committee decides. Our job is to make it work, so it's possible we may go outside the regular days, week schedule rotation. I can't really answer that, but there are reasons why we may not be able to, we may have to keep the other cycle and just insert a day in the cycle. So I can't answer that, but it's possible that it would be a different day than you might expect.
Okay, then the other thing, would there be lunch served that day or no lunch?
No lunch. I think it's going to be like a regular scheduled early release day.
Yeah, I know
the way
some
we-
other towns do that on their Wednesday professional development. They'd have lunch and go home.
Yes, but we don't do that.
Oh,
But Joe, you bring up a good point that we hadn't talked about yet at the table tonight. So
Okay.
Debbie, your thought would be to make it an early release day?
Probably. There are a few things we need to look into, actually, about that. It will definitely be an early release day. Now, what the time frame for the release, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, so we're waiting actually to see what the committee decides, and then we'll make it work, and I will let you know. It will definitely not be a full day, because people who would want to send their children for the instructional day and still participate in the afternoon religious observance traditions, we wouldn't be in school all day, but
I appreciate
the
that.
exact schedule, there are a couple of issues that have been brought to my attention that we'd have to consider what would be the best actual schedule of the day, and so I don't want to get too far ahead of
Okay.
myself.
Okay, but that's good to know that it would definitely be an early release day.
Yes.
Bruce, before we vote, I wonder if Melissa, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I wonder if you have any insight. You always have some very good insights into this. As a student, what are your thoughts?
Well, when I first heard about Good Friday, I was a little iffy because I do celebrate that holiday. But then if it's a half day, I don't really see a problem with it because you're still celebrating, early release. You're still celebrating the holiday. So I don't really have a problem with that.
Thank you.
Deb, I'm sorry for my dumb question, but does this affect any other school activities, like, I'm pulling athletics out of the air, but, rescheduling of any events or
No,
anything like
because
that? If
we
go
weren't
with a Good
planning to be
Friday?
in school, so
Okay.
there's nothing that would be,
Okay.
there's nothing that would affect.
Thank you. Well, I'll motion if you want. I motion that we have school to cover the 6th snow day that we've encountered on this year only, with no pattern foreseen on this, for this year's Good Friday. And the date is now a blur to me right now, but I'm sorry, but
April
Good
3rd.
Friday, thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Just again, my sincere thoughts are with that day as well, but I think it's best for the school district and the students.
I'm reluctant to. Let's all say we're reluctant to do it.
Yeah,
But I do think that you've already voted next year's school calendar, which does not include that as a school day. So all your points about not continuing as a tradition, you already not made it a tradition for next year. So I just want
It's an
people to realize
exceptional
that.
year.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's another factor, too, that we haven't said, but I know we all are aware of, which is if we get another snow day, which could be this week, then we at least now would have an option for that Friday, June 26th,
Well,
if we had
if you
to.
didn't do this tonight and we had another snow day, we'd be on to the Friday, which means I'd probably bring it back up again.
Right, that's
So
right. Right.
it's
So
time to
with
take one day at a time.
If we pass this motion, this will make the last day of school Wednesday, June 24th.
Correct.
Okay.
Which was your originally approved
Last
last
day of
day
school.
that people were
Okay.
counting on.
Yep.
And then if we have one more, at least we don't have that many conflicts. When you get to Friday,
Yeah, really.
I think we have probably a number of conflicts that would be very difficult to overcome.
Okay. All right.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the motion passes. The last day of school, as of right now, is Wednesday, June 24th, and we will be going to school on Good Friday.
For a partial day.
For an early release day. And let's pray, if the verb is appropriate, that we have no more school days. I did have a chance.
No more snow.
No, excuse me, no more snow days.
There are kids probably praying for no more school days.
Yeah, right, sorry, no more snow days.
That's a slip.
I did,
Freudian slip.
I did have an opportunity to talk to Father Steve this weekend, and he is, I think, reluctant to. I think he has always been such an advocate for our children, and he understands the importance of instructional days, and obviously, goes without saying, he knows the importance of Good Friday, but he appreciated the committee noting last week that this was an important consideration, and I think he will respect the discussion tonight, and certainly the focus that this is not a long-term plan.
And
So,
next year's schedule is already in place.
it's a unique year. It has been a unique year, and hopefully this is the right decision, but I appreciate the committee's consideration. Tina?
I counted on my calendar. After last week, 5 days in a row of school seemed like a very long week in my household. So I did count on the calendar, and if putting Good Friday in as a school day makes us have 8, if we are so fortunate as to not have another snow day, it will give us 8 full weeks of school before April vacation.
Is there any wood?
Let's knock on something.
Laminate.
Wooden.
Yeah, knock on wood.
I could
But
Yeah.
Use my head.
Seems like that'd be a miracle about now, but I'll hope for that.
Let's all hope for that, so we should be able to make up some good instructional ground, I think, in 8 weeks.
Good. Okay, the next topic is the school committee vacancy. And just by way of reminder, to set the tone for that discussion, I think we've talked about this topic twice now. I think the consensus of the committee both times has been that it's too short a period to really think about appointing someone and leave it to the public for the election. But then last week, I made the point that our policy didn't really explicitly state we had an option. So it was at that point, I believe, in the discussion that Tina said she'd go back to the, is it the general law, Tina? What's the right term?
It is Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, Section 11, if you want to be technical about it.
And so you have something to report on that. I went back and reviewed my conversations with the town clerk's office, which I can report on again for the committee's decision.
Well, for anybody listening too would be.
Good point. Yeah, thank you. Do you want to go first?
I did look at the statute. It is consistent with our policy. I mean, our policy more or less reiterate what is in the statute. And it does say you shall fill it. It does not say within which time frame, which is consistent with what Steve discussed with Glenn Kuchar from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. And I actually talked to Glenn Kuchar this morning myself, and he also reiterated that. So towns do it differently. Nothing is really called out in the statute as far as a time frame for filling that seat. And some towns do choose, when it is a short period of time, to just let the election process take place in the town. So we wouldn't be running afoul of the statute if we chose to do that, given that there would probably only be about 3 meetings between when we...
Maybe not even that many.
Maybe not even that many, but when we could possibly appoint somebody, and our elections, which are May 4th? May 4th. So that's what I have.
Okay, and I reconfirmed with the town clerk's office that there's not a requirement for us to do that. So that further backs up both the Mass General Law statute and what we got from Glenn Kuchar. Here we are as a committee trying to make sure that we do everything by the
Right.
book. I think we've done as much as we probably can to validate our general consensus from the prior meetings. So, does anybody have anything they'd like to add? Or are you ready to make a motion?
I just want to reiterate the success of the one other time that I'm aware that this happened. It worked well by us, and it's even a shorter period of time this time, to leave the seat vacant.
How long was that again, Beth?
Vinnie Igo passed away in January,
Okay.
so it was a whole extra month we were dealing with. And it worked very successfully. So, on the precedence of success, I'm ready to vote.
Okay, and I don't know that this requires a vote or an action, but I think because we've deliberated on so much, it probably is worth just putting it into record, if you guys are okay
I would
with
think
that.
so.
So Bevy, do you want to make a motion then?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we leave our school committee seat vacant, and that it will be filled through the regular election process of the town on May 4th.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0 also. Very good. I knew we'd be nice and quick tonight.
And that was consistent, I know we just finished, but that was consistent also with what your conversation was with the chair of the Board of Selectmen. They were copacetic with this.
Yes,
Just to pull that in as well.
Yeah. Okay, proposed next year, school committee meeting dates, 2015, 2016.
So I want to thank Janet. We worked together to try to, to try to put together some proposed school committee dates, which doesn't mean that they can't change, but as you know, you vote on your meeting dates each year. In general, you meet the first and third, just for the public's purpose. Generally, if possible, if the calendar falls out nicely, you meet on the first and third Mondays of each month. Traditionally, you have one meeting in August, just prior to the opening of school, so that would take place on Monday, August 24th, given this draft for your consideration. We typically have one meeting in September. This year was a little bit different because you reversed, due to a personal conflict I thought I had, and you had 2 meetings in September and 1 in October, but this puts you back at what you traditionally do as a committee, which is 1 meeting late August, 1 meeting in September, and then you go to the first and third Monday scenario, unless there's a school vacation week falling on the 3rd, in which case you fall to the 4th Monday, and that happens in January, February, and April. And then town meeting, Janet was nice enough to put all the pertinent dates right on your calendar. So the town election in 2016 would be on May 2. The town meeting is on the 9th, so your school committee meeting is the week after that, because you have town meeting as well.
That's great.
So that pretty much is what you typically do, so.
And could I just add, although it's not on our calendar and we do not consider this until the end of school, but we typically have had a school retreat meeting on the best date when we're all available in July.
Yes. The only thing that Janet did point out to me is that, if it matters to the committee, is that the meeting on the 14th of September falls on Rosh Hashanah, and the meeting on December 7th falls on the first day of Hanukkah. I know that's a longer holiday celebration, but I don't know if that,
Would it be difficult to move those, or would it be,
I certainly think
it
the
would be
September
a
meeting
nice,
is easier.
respectful thing to do, I think, considering the conversation we just had on the other matter, to
I think particularly the
work with
September meeting.
holidays if we can.
The September meeting might be best the week after.
Yeah, Rosh Hashanah, yeah.
I don't think, avoiding all the days of Hanukkah are possible, but that's the first one. So I think some consideration should be given to moving the September
Well, we
school
would have
committee
had
meeting
one
to
just
the
at the end of August anyway.
Right.
I'm sorry, which meeting?
So
September,
move,
so move it from the
14th
14th
to the
To the
21st.
21st.
I would be amenable to that.
So
In
would
fact,
I.
I think that would be a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I know, I just like to hear how school opening went, but I suspect I'll have other ways to figure that out, so.
Well, that's true, because that puts us 1, 2,
20 days into the school year.
wow, it certainly does.
But I don't know that I don't know that we convene in early September and make a whole lot of decisions other than hearing your report of how things are going. So I don't know that there's a timely
Yeah.
element
And
required.
if ever there's, we can have an emergency meeting
Right.
within a matter of hours. If we must convene,
We can,
absolutely, on any day of the week,
for emergencies, right?
What do you think?
So.
I think this is a school committee decision, since it's your meetings.
I'll stick with my opinion.
I think I could make either one work. I think sometimes that's my job, just to see what the will of the committee is and just make it work.
I would be inclined to move it to the 21st, and if we have a hurricane or an unusual set of circumstances, then I think we should probably have an earlier meeting to make sure everything is on track. But I think, given if everything is going according to plan, I think the 21st will be sufficient.
So does anyone want to make a motion with that
It's only
amendment?
12 or 13 school days. I mean, that's barely 2 weeks.
You can ask me for an email update. I'll send you an email about how the opening of school went, and then
That's right. And if we need to convene within a matter of hours, we can. If there's anything that's a crisis that needs,
I'll motion that we accept the calendar with the amendment for the Rosh Hashanah date. And of course, keep our options open for any emergency meetings that we may need to do to
well,
conduct
those we
school
have to,
business.
yeah, they have to,
Right.
they're open.
So I motion that we accept the
Automatic.
calendar and move, and accommodate the Rosh Hashanah holiday.
So that our first September school meeting will be the 21st.
yes.
Yes.
Second?
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Terrific, thank you. Janet, thanks for the prep work.
Thank you.
I like the color coding, it helps me.
She's good at that.
And we are
And the
on to
snowflakes.
other matters in a record 30 minutes.
Wow.
Tom's gonna keep the job back.
Always have other matters.
Well,
I have happy other matters.
I covered all
Good.
mine up front.
I have all happy other matters.
Excellent.
So the happiest of all, congratulations to the girls and boys basketball teams. The girls won both of their playoff rounds last
Hooray.
week on Tuesday and Thursday, and they will be playing in the third round of the playoffs on Wednesday at Massasoit Community College. The boys basketball team also won their first two rounds of playoffs last Wednesday and Friday night, and they will be playing in the third round on tomorrow night, Tuesday, at Brockton High School. So, unbelievably successful season. Congratulations, and can't wait to see what you do this week. But just, even up till now, tremendously successful. The games have been very exciting, and they've worked really hard. So, congratulations.
Are both of those teams first-year coaches? They are, right?
No,
Is it-
Lisa
or
Downs
this
is
her
not a
second year?
first-year
What-
coach.
what was
Yeah,
this,
she's
second
I
or
think a third,
That many?
possibly.
Okay. And certainly
Great
John
coaches.
Gibbs first
John
year,
Gibbs.
so good for
And,
them.
yes, he said none of the boys on this team actually have experienced a playoff game, so just to win the first play, just to experience it was great, and look at where they are now. Right, Melissa?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So how many playoff games have the
They've
girls?
each won two.
That's great.
What, that was a banner week last week, 4 nights in a row
Oh,
of
I know,
wins.
I know. I was getting emails about it.
It was terrific. So that's my happiest news. On informational type matters, we had a nice long meeting today with the Cambridge Institute, which
Oh,
oversees the
excellent.
Cambridge, the Mass Preparatory Program, where we're looking to bring international students here. So we got a lot of the nitty-gritty ironed out today. So we continue to work on that. We're in good shape for that. A lot of things have happened. As you can understand, it's a very meaty process. So we're in about step 3 or 4 of the SEVIS certification that you need to bring international students here on F1 visas. I had my meeting with the ICE, the immigration, the federal government, Homeland Security Immigration. That all went well. Our meeting today, really, we had everybody there, high school people, Amy, Bill, and we really outlined everything that would be happening and what supports would be here for the students. So we do expect by the spring that they will be interviewing and kids will be applying, students will be applying for the high schools that they want to come to. Hopefully through that program. So we're moving along and making great progress. And the only other thing is, we do realize that spring sports season starts 2 weeks from tomorrow. And we have a turf field that could be used, especially with all the slush that's going to be happening everywhere else. And it is covered with several feet of snow. So Bill and I have been working to contact a company, which Bill did today, recommended by our friends at Gillette Stadium, who have specialized equipment. And we're going to look into the cost of clearing the turf field safely, and so that it doesn't damage the field, but so that kids can start using it, because I don't know where everybody else in Massachusetts is going to be playing, but I'm sure the turf is going to be the only surface available for quite some time, given the conditions, so
Our
we're
new
working on
baseball
that.
fields will have lots of water.
Irrigation's great.
Too much. So we hope to be able to do that.
I was
in the future.
at Taunton 4 Kicks a couple nights ago, where I am a couple times a week, and they've just plowed all of their turf fields. So if for some reason you have any trouble, you can talk to them about who they use. But if anyone's worried about plowing turf fields, I don't know if plowing's the right word, but
Well, they-
Clearing.
Yeah,
Clearing.
they clear a number of ways, but, obviously the issue is not to pick up the pellet surface and not obviously to rip the carpet. So I would prefer to do it with somebody who
Is
has that
experienced.
expertise
Yes.
to begin an
So
investment.
that's it,
great.
all good things.
Tina?
I did see an email from Foxborough Public Schools on the Project Contemporary, so I wanted you to mention that.
Thank you. I just sent that out late today.
You did.
So the Project Contemporary Competitiveness is a summer program that the committee voted to support for current 7th, 8th, and 9th graders who will be incoming 8th, 9th, 10th graders. And that is the opportunity for that 6-week live-in program during the week at Stonehill College that families could take advantage of for enrichment challenge and just all around exciting experiences. Kids can select courses they want. So our Project Contemporary Competitiveness, or PCC, Parent Information Night, was snowed out, along with a lot of other things. So we just rescheduled it to next week. And that email went out to all parents of students in that grade level tonight. And I believe it's next Thursday.
Yes.
It's next Thursday night.
Right.
At the Ahern Middle School in the auditorium.
Is that the
So
10th?
if families of students at
Oh,
other
they-
grade levels want to come, just to be interested, feel free. But specifically, we're inviting parents whose students
Well,
would
that's
be
the project
eligible
night.
this summer.
Great.
And the 10th is the tech night.
Yes.
Right.
All right, so the 10th and the 12th.
Thanks.
I had an electric day yesterday with the music department out at University of Massachusetts at Amherst. Cami Tadoli and the music department brought our students out to what's called UMass String Day, which is an annual event. And I saw our students go into a full day of seminars, special training, and then they wound the afternoon up around 1:30 to 3:30 with an outstanding display of concerts from what they learned in a very compressed day and an intense day of learning, and was again really impressed. It was terrific. Our staff was great. Our transportation department helped our students get there in the morning at around 6:30 safely, and also safely home during a pretty good snowstorm coming up from the western part of the state. And I want to thank our friends at AAA Auto Club for getting my keys out of my car that I locked in the middle of an empty parking lot 1,000 miles from the event, because I'm not very bright. So, but the music department did a fine job. I'm sorry, Deb. I just
so funny.
don't
It's
have the
always
finesse. I don't have any. I'm sorry, but it happened.
No,
But they were terrific. The students were great, and they were up early in the morning and off right on time, 6:45. They were there at 6:30 and on the road, and everybody was safe, sound, secure, and
It's
did a
not you.
terrific job.
It's not you, it's me.
No,
The only time I've ever called AAA, I locked my keys in the car
Yeah.
at the cemetery visiting my parents.
Excellent, yeah.
Nobody there.
No, it
Trust me,
really-
it
It's
was
a
gonna
really
help me.
it's a joyous
No,
occasion
that
for
I
all
just
of
had a
us.
flat. It wasn't really you.
Yeah.
I thought, oh boy, I can relate.
I really am relieved that you had to call AAA because, Steve, if you could unlock your car by yourself, I would be afraid you were a crook.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea how to get into my car when my keys are on the
Well,
inside.
neither did I yesterday, but anyway,
some
thank you to the
people coming down the street could help
Thank
me
you to
out
the
with it,
music
but I
department.
called.
They were
Yeah.
terrific.
Been
And
there,
the
done that.
students they represented the town really, really well in their personalities, their excellent behavior, and their talent and commitment. It was great.
Good comment. Steve, anything else? Tina?
I'm good.
Bevy?
Just one brief thing. I know how we are trying to beef up our drama department here, and I'm going to call Janet in the morning and make an appointment with our superintendent because there is an excellent workshop day for high school students and all kinds of things with drama, which will be happening around October 23. And I would like to explain the mechanics to
So we'll set a time.
Yeah, to
Maybe
Mrs.
we should even
Benner.
meet up here so we can invite our advisors who are here.
Well, I
to
would,
hear about
yeah, but because I am on the board of this organization that services New England. So I just wanted to make sure that it would do nothing for me personally. So I wanted to explain it to you first so that people would not consider any conflict of interest, although there is absolutely no benefit to me whether they come or not. And then I'd be more than willing to explain it to them, but.
Or I can
unless-
pass on the information,
But
whatever's best.
I would feel comfortable doing it that
Okay,
way, so
that sounds
people won't
good.
raise a question.
Sounds
That
good.
way,
Great. Thank you. Anything else?
Nothing.
Amy?
Just again, another plug for our Parent Technology Night on Tuesday, March 10th. It's a different format than years past, so people really have an opportunity to go into sessions or to come here in the media center and talk with students and teachers, see some of our mobile devices that we've deployed in the schools, and have a much more hands-on experience with teachers and students, or choose to go in classrooms for presentations too. So it's a different format, and we hope that many will attend.
I have a question. With the new format, is it possible to come late if you were picking your child up at CCD at 6:30?
Absolutely, absolutely, and you won't miss anything other than the overview in the auditorium.
Perfect. Thank you.
Amy, would there be like feedback at that as well from the parents to see what they think about the progress process, our infrastructure development, those sorts of things?
The feedback that we typically ask has been more about the evening and what parents have been able to walk away
Okay.
with from that evening.
Yeah.
So it's more geared toward that evening. Taking feedback in that format might play out in a different way. I don't know
Okay.
that that evening
I'm not
would
trying to
lend
set the agenda, I
itself.
just didn't know if there was a component there for it.
We definitely take feedback, and that's one of the reasons for the different format this year. People wanted to have more opportunities to see more things and have kind of
Okay.
a more intimate conversation
Okay,
with teachers and students.
thank you.
Can't wait.
Thank you for doing that.
We've worked really hard on that.
Anything else, Amy?
That's it, thank you.
Bill?
Nope, I'm good.
Motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn this lovely evening.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.